All righty, Matty.
What up?
Topic for today.
Topic for today is going to be HELOCs on investment properties, which, for people we talk to on the phone, is one of our most popular, not only questions, but topics. It definitely
I like
is.
how I said, yeah.
I don't know the exact percentage, but I would say easily 50% of the clients we take on have more than one property.
Yeah, they're active real estate investors. I would say not just that. I would say probably half, maybe a little less, are entrepreneurs as well, self-employed. So yeah, it's a hot topic for our clients of how to properly finance their investment properties.
Yep. So the first question is, can you put a HELOC on an investment property?
Yeah, it is rare. There are not many banks that do it. But you could not only refinance an investment property, what we call a rental, not a vacation home, little separate topic there.
Vacation home's a little easier.
Yeah, it's actually quite a bit easier. But yeah, a true rental property, because I'm sure when people call me, it cuts that off too. A true rental is like a long-term lease, right? It's tougher. It's rare. So, but not only can you refinance if you have an existing mortgage on your rental property, but you can actually, we have a couple banks that will purchase with 20% down.
Correct.
You can purchase rental properties. And what that means is, for those that don't know and don't follow us, that doesn't mean you're leveraging another property in a HELOC on that property to use the funds to buy another property. That's not what we're talking about. Let's say you're not utilizing your current property at all, and you want to do a purchase transaction when at the closing table it's a HELOC instead of a mortgage.
Right. You can straight into a HELOC.
You can
first
absolutely
position, first lien position, HELOC.
Yeah, primarily. I mean, well, obviously, if you're doing a purchase, some of these banks will do a second. I mean, you have a mortgage on a portion of it, and then a HELOC on a portion of it.
We even have a couple that do split HELOCs, meaning first and second position HELOCs. It's rare, but we do have a couple.
That's really rare.
It tends to be more refinance oriented there, but and primary residence, but nonetheless.
Yeah. So yeah, you can absolutely purchase if you're wanting to start out in real estate investment. And again, we're not advocates for HELOCs on everything. So it's dependent on what the cash flow is of that property, what you're planning on using for that property. But yeah, if you want to purchase rental properties with a HELOC, you can absolutely do that.
I'll give you an example. So I've got a client that just refinanced. He has two properties, and his investment property in Florida, he just refinanced into a HELOC. He owed $180. He did a HELOC for $360. So he accessed at closing $180,000 of equity of that HELOC or that property that he didn't have access to before. And the reason he wants to use it is he's got a couple other properties that he's looking at, and if those fall through, he's looking at more. He's like, I need some access to the equity in this home. It's worth quite a bit, and that's just at 80%. So you can obviously say it was worth more than 360, but he immediately got access to $180,000 in his investment property. He's going to roll it into something else, and the bank he ended up going with, it's an interest-only payment. He cash flows real well on that property, and he's like, I'm not all that concerned with paying this property off. I know it's going to cash flow. It cash flows well. I primarily do Airbnb with it, so I earn a lot of income. It's in Florida, so it gets rented out quite a bit. Yeah. He was like, so I know it's probably going to stay a good value. I know at minimum I'm going to have 20% equity, if not more, if the value goes up, and I can re-roll the equity in that property into additional properties. So that's what he's going to do, and he just was able to access $180,000.
Sort of off topic. Imagine that. We're going to Florida in a couple weeks.
That's right.
As a company for our tax attorney. But, you know, we're going to be down there for a week. What are the chances that at some point in our 7 days that we're there, and me, you, Edmund, Derek, are just having a glass of bourbon, and we're like, what would it be like if we bought this?
It's probably going to be within the first 48 hours.
Yeah, it's a really cool
and
house.
Not only will it come from us, it'll come from one of the wives too.
Yeah, true. We're not in a position to do that right now, but I would say, especially once we...
Well, maybe not that house, but...
It's a really cool house, and I haven't even been there yet. Just looking at pictures online, it's one of the coolest houses we've ever rented for vacation. But yeah, I mean, we're not in a position, but yeah, maybe 30, 60 days once the fund gets up and going, it might be something that we look at. Yeah, it will be a topic of conversation.
Guaranteed.
And Edmund will be the one kind of, asking the question. I wonder how long it's rented out. Look at the calendar, see how long it's rented out, doing the math and trying to figure out, all right, what would we actually cash flow on this property? So just going to go ahead and call it like I see it. That will probably.
It's guaranteed. It's going to happen.
Yeah. So back to HELOCs on investment property. So if we wanted to do that, we could put a HELOC on that property too.
If it meets the parameters, sure.
Yeah.
It might exceed
because of the line size.
Line size. So that brings, that's a good transition.
What do you think that is? $4 million property?
Yeah. It's that size.
Yeah.
It's definitely more than two.
800 grand down. So you're still financing 3.2. Yeah, that would be tough. We'd have to put more down than that.
Yeah. So that actually brings a good transition into some of the parameters. I'm not going to go into all super detailed, but line size maximums, we're talking about that right now. They tend to be a little bit lower on on investment properties. A bank might do, let's say, $1 million on a primary. That same bank will say, "Man, we'll only do 500 on an investment." Now, line size minimums, people don't often think about that. Line size minimums are a big thing on investment properties, meaning a bank will say, "We're not doing a line size less than 150,000 on a rental because we don't want to take the risk for something that small."
Right.
So if we're going to do it, we're going to get our money's worth out of it and do a bigger line of credit. Always 20%. If it's a condo or something like that, there's normally a additional LTV markdown, meaning if 80%, they'll go up to 80%, they'll only do 70 or 75 on a condo.
Right.
And the reason I say that, because a lot of people will invest in condos. It has to be warrantable. That's the same as Fannie Mae.
So explain warrantable.
So warrantable means there's a lot of things that go into it. So warrantable means it essentially is mainly primary residence or second home residence property. It's not long-term investment condos.
Right.
So if there's 100 units in this complex, if 55 of them are investment properties, that's not warrantable.
Right.
Has to normally be 50% or more owner occupied.
50 cents. It's my birthday.
50 cent, yeah. So that's one aspect of it. Another aspect can't be a condo-tel. So sometimes you'll go to a condo, you go on vacation, go to a condo, rent a condo out, but when you walk into the lobby, it's like a hotel.
Yeah.
Right. They have a concierge, they have a front desk. So it looks like a hotel, but then when you go to your room, it's actually a condo.
Right.
That's a condo-tel. It's got amenities of a hotel, but all the units are condos. Can't do those. Another thing is, and this happens sometimes, let's say you have a 10-story building full of condos. Well, the first 4 floors are actually more business-oriented. They might have some rooms for business-oriented rooms for like events. They might have a pool, like again, restaurant, stuff like that. So the first 4 floors are business oriented, and then the top 6 are all condos. That's a mixed use property. It's not a condo complex.
Right.
So it's, and I think it's 25.
Wouldn't that also be the same thing with townhomes? Because some townhomes, let's say you got a 3-story townhome, and the bottom one is an office, and then the top 2 floors, and it could obviously an office that maybe it's yours, but you got a street front office. Right. There's a couple of those here in Franklin where it's 3 stories. Bottom is a boutique or a law office or whatnot, and then you live on the other 2 floors.
Yeah, I think if it's over 25% mixed use or business, then again, it's not warrantable. So there's some other smaller ones, but those are the main ones that you'll run into right there. So again, condos, a little bit trickier. They can be done just a little bit trickier. What else? Like most HELOCs, you have to have reserves.
Yeah, so if you were to buy, let's say, a $300,000 condo that was warrantable, what are the reserve requirements on that?
Depends on how many. If that's only your second property, like say you have a primary, that's your second property. I normally say take 2% of what the aggregate balance is on those 2 properties. So let's say your primary is 300, your kind of, so if you're buying it at 300, you're putting 60 down, or it should be a little bit more than that. So let's say it's 220. So that's 520. Take 2% of that. That's $10,400.
Yep.
Probably plus your monthly reserves, which would be, let's say, 2 months. So you're looking at about 15 grand.
So you would have to show 15 grand liquid in some account somewhere. So reserves, could it be a 401k? Okay. Annuity, obviously.
Yep.
Obviously, cash
and
value,
checking and savings.
Well, cash value, whole life policy.
Yep, whole life policy.
Yeah,
you can
that
use
counts.
as well.
Okay. So you just got to have 15 grand somewhere that is semi-liquid.
Right. Based on those numbers, I would say 15 is just an arbitrary number we're using for this example. But yes, you will have to have reserves.
And if you don't have those reserves, should you really be investing in real estate?
Probably not.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so.
Yeah.
That would scare the crap out of me.
Now, if you had a HELOC on your primary, technically you can use those as reserves sometimes too.
That's true. So let's say, but all your reserves are cashed away in the HELOC. What would you have to do?
You can move them into an account.
Move them into an account, source the funds. Okay, there's my liquidity. And then it's stupid, though. We hate it when we come across underwriters like, you don't have any reserves. Yeah, but we got a HELOC that they've been cashing into for 6 months, and they got 150 grand available to them. It's not the same as sourced funds. But if they put it in a savings account that did absolutely jack for them, that's sourced funds, yeah.
Underwriters and banks have come around big time to HELOCs being used as funds. And a couple of the banks that we use for this particular transaction will actually take HELOCs as the reserve part. So other than that, I mean, credit score requirements might be a little bit higher. And like say, excuse me, let me get away.
Smoke another one.
680 might be minimum on primary, and they may say 720 for investment property, things like that. What else?
Well, I just think if you're in the market to become a real estate investor, then you should really have a discovery call with us. Again, people don't realize, they think that Replace Your Mortgage, because of the name of the company, we didn't have long-term vision and come up with a cooler name. They think that we're only about a HELOC strategy, but we actually go very deep into real estate investing education, very deep. In fact, I would say our real estate investing education is just as long as our HELOC training.
And on top of that, our network in our community, it's not just the RYM clients, but it's a lot of real estate investors. And some of them will get together and do deals together and, learn from each other as well. We all learn from each other in that group, and it's heavily real estate oriented.
Very, very much real estate oriented.
We continually add to our curriculum and our knowledge base, just not only from what we learn, but from what we learn from other people and what they learn from people, even by just, creating that community and getting together. It's just continues to grow as a knowledge base and as, what's the best word for it? As a place to go to learn a lot about real estate. Sorry, I'm hungry.
Yeah, I am.
My train of thought.
My stomach's growling. It's lunchtime. So, gang, if you like this video, please like it below. Comment if you have any questions. Be sure to hit the subscribe button. As the cool kids on YouTube say, smash the subscribe button. But if you're a real estate investor or want to be a real estate investor, reach out to us. We offer a free discovery call, and it's a consultation. So if you go to replaceyourmortgage.com, the only call to action on that site, actually there's two. One is to download our free book. It's an ebook, so you can download that and read it to know who we are, what we're about, and why we do it. But the other call to action is to book a call, and it costs you absolutely nothing to have a free 45-minute consultation with one of our reps, or myself or Matt. And we'll kind of walk you through whether or not this is the right fit for you, even if it's something you should do. Because, like we say, this isn't for everybody. Some people should do this, and some people should not do this. So, again, if you like it, be sure to like below, subscribe. Take care, gang. God bless.